Today we're hurling through the galaxy on our Blackstone Fortress, ready to burn the galaxy as Chaos Space Marines. If you haven't seen one of these videos before, what I do is give you a first list that you can build, assemble, paint, and learn to play without worrying about it getting nerfed. And then a second list, which you can skip to at the end of the video, that's more competitive and what I would take to a tournament as Chaos Space Marines. If you want more in-depth analysis, you can check out my Deal With It series that I'm doing with Brad Chester, where we take every faction in the game and really deep dive into what it means to build a list for that faction, play with it, and how you practice with it. And with that out of the way, let's get right into it. First, we have Abaddon and 10 Terminators. Abaddon is fantastic this edition because, as you'd expect, he can 1v1 just about any unit, thanks to having all of the God keywords. This means that you get the benefit of, when you use your Dark Packs, of being able to get exploding 5s to hit, or lethal hits on 5s and 6s. Conveniently, you can also use all of the God stratagems. So Abaddon's unit is going to advance and charge. It's going to be unable to be shot outside of 12 inches, thanks to Nurgle. It's also going to be able to regrow a Terminator, thanks to Zeech. In addition, when you want to be using all of these stratagems, whenever you Dark Pact with Abaddon's unit, on a 2-up, you're going to gain a CP. In addition, you can use the Undivided stratagem to reroll all hits and wounds on his whole unit. You really will feel like that you've dropped down on a planet and everyone is terrified of you, running away from Abaddon the Despoiler. Then we have Cypher. Cypher has a shorter list of accomplishments for our list. He has the ability to make our opponent's stratagem cost 1 more. In addition, he's a lone operative that can hang around at the sides of the board or in the back and control your objectives without being shot away by indirect fire. Then we have the spice of the list. You've got Abaddon and the Terminators terrifying your opponent, and then you have 2 dark communes with 32 Accursed Cultists that are going to take the board. Accursed Cultists have OC2 first of all, which means whether it's a big Torment model or a smaller Mutant model, it still has OC2. Combine this with the Dark Commune, which once per game gives the whole unit advance and charge, and +1 to hit, and +1 to wound. This unit, as Undivided, will start to reroll all hits and wounds after charging straight across the table at your opponent. The Torment models have damage to his swings, which means this unit can really put some hurt on just about anything with full rerolls to hit and wound, and +1 to hit and wound. Then, for a basic unit, we have 10 Cultists. Their job is to sticky a back objective and then move backwards to screen out our opponent from being able to drop down with deep strikes or come in off strategic reserve. This keeps our backfield nice and safe. Then, if you hate Necrons, this is the unit for you. It is 10 Undivided Possessed. Possessed have the ability to get devastating wounds on their attacks. And being Undivided, again, means we can use Profane Zeal to get full rerolls to hit and wound. If you send this unit into a Lichguard brick, I almost guarantee that with 40 devastating wound attacks, you're going to pick up that Lichguard brick. And it wouldn't be a 10th edition list without some shooting. So we have a Forgefiend. It's also Undivided with 3 Ectoplasma cannons. Blast on each of these cannons means that regardless of going into a large number of models or a single model, it's going to do some damage. And like the Possessed, it also gets devastating wounds when you use a Dark Pact. Finally, we'll round it out with some Chaos allies. We've brought 2x3 units of Nurglings, and they're just there to start in Deep Strike and drop in and do things like investigate signals. It really sucks to have a big unit of Possessed, or Abaddon and his Terminators have to run to the corner to do investigate signals. I would rather have them tearing through the battlefield, getting right at my opponent. Then we have the Changeling and the Blue Scribes. Lone operatives are great in this edition, and they can start in Deep Strike and then Deep Strike onto other side objectives if you need them to. And the Changeling actually has decent shooting and melee into other weaker units. And with that, that's the full list. This list does have one key weakness, and that is to other blast weapons. So if you know your opponent's going to bring a lot of blast weapons, maybe try splitting the units up into smaller units. Then for the competitive list. The competitive list involves Abaddon and the Terminators, of course, and also Cypher, because making your opponent's stratagem cost 1 more is great. But more importantly, we're bringing more shooting. We're bringing 3 Forgefiends that are Undivided. And then we have another fantastic cheap unit that we're going to use to score secondaries and attack opposing points in the center of the battlefield. We have Noise Marines. I've kitted them out with the Blastmaster, of course, because a little bit of shooting is fine, with Astartes Chainswords and a Power Fist, so they can punch in melee, and then one Sonic Blaster. This lets them advance and do actions thanks to having one assault weapon. Then, of course, we have the Obliterators. If you haven't gotten hit by Obliterators yet, they hit like a truck. Again, we've had them undivided just so they can point at one thing and make sure it isn't there at the start of our opponent's turn. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, thanks for rolling some dice with Rice, and we'll see you in the next one.